can't get any words. Podcast on blast, giving you the real talk, no holding back. Can't get any worse, we'll make you see. There's always a silver lining. We'll set you free, so join the movement. Let's change the game with the Can't Get Any Worse podcast.
Welcome back to the Can't Get Any Worse. Take two again. You guys must be sitting there going, how many fucking times does this guy sit at home and try and record this podcast? Because every week it sounds like he comes in here and goes, oh, this just happened, so I had to restart the podcast, blah, blah, blah. So bit of a spanner in the works this morning. We've got a special fill-in in-house producer over there. We've got my youngest son, Parker, controlling the buttons over there. He's whatever comes out on this podcast, you can thank him. So send all your letters of appreciation or negativeness directed to him this week. So if those watching on YouTube, if the camera is all over the shop, I apologise. I have a 3-year-old on the other side of the desk trying to keep him entertained. So he's aggressively swinging on his chair right now, smashing it into the table, which I'm sure is coming across on the camera. But that's okay. We adapt and we overcome, don't we? That's what we fucking do around here. So yeah, bit of a spanner in the works for this morning. It's now 12 o'clock, which I normally try and record these around 9 o'clock or so. So I'm a little behind schedule. Not going to point any fingers or accuse anyone, but if I did, it'd be over there on the other side of the production table. But yeah, spent the morning at the doctor's with him. Basically, you guys are probably sitting there going, does this kid ever go to school on Mondays? And no, not really. He's home quite a lot while I'm recording these podcasts, isn't he? So we'll see if he stays over there this time or whether he chimes in with some just valid information like he always does. But yeah, that's right, doctors. So we've spoken about it in nauseum, so let's not go fucking back into it. But as we all know, our backyard at the moment's a bit of a construction site. So it's just mud everywhere, tools, fucking everything, right? And as much as Nikita and I hate it, there's 2 little boys that are taking full advantage of it and loving every second of it. And they wish that our yard could just stay like this forever, to be honest. But yeah, Westy and Parker they've found the silver lining in our backyard being an absolute shitstorm. And they're out there every day with shovels, they're digging holes, they're making bike jumps, they're fucking building ponds, whatever else they do out there, right? And we had a bit of rain this week, so it's become a slight mud pit again. Bit of a pooled body of water. Let's say that. Pooled body of water. That's a fun little phrase to say. One sec. Oh, yeah. But because of this, the old biting bugs like mosquitoes and midges and whatever the fuck else lives down in swampy areas, they're out in full force. And both of our kids love getting bitten by bugs. I don't know what it is about them, but they're just like, I swear they just lay out on the grass and they go, whatever wants to come and nibble on us, let's fucking go. Thank God Dennis Ferguson doesn't live in our area anymore, but that's a callback to an early 2000s pedophile. Don't know why he lives rent-free in my brain, but I don't know. He might have been the first one that I ever heard about, and he just scarred me. Anyway, kids were out there yesterday, about lunchtime. They're playing out there, digging, doing whatever they're doing, right? And then we go, we're going to go groceries. So we go up to Woolworths, and we're like 5 minutes into the shop, right? And prior to this, no inclinations that something could have been wrong. So we're just going about our regular Sunday. And about 5 minutes into the shop or so, Parker starts getting real like whiny and agitated and stuff. And we're like, oh, what the fuck? Like, stop being a sook. Like telling him to man up basically. And then he just like loses it. He's like itching his entire body. We're like, what the fuck? So we look down. His arms are like red raw, covered in this red rash. And it looks quite aggressive. And then he's itching under his shirt and shit. So we lift that up and he's just like head to toe in this weird red rash. And we're like, what the fuck? So we just like quickly finish the shop, just get the essentials and get back in the car, rush him home. Nikita's got these weird like fucking, I don't know what it is, some sort of green bath that she like soaked him in. And that seemed to chill it out a bit more. But no matter what creams and like witch doctor remedies she was doing on him, it still wasn't going away. So yeah, it wasn't too bad. Like it was still, I guess it was still pretty bad by the time we went to bed last night, but it was not like hospital worthy. And then this morning we've woken up and it's like inflamed again. And his left arm is just like the thickness of his hand down to his elbow. Like he's got no wrist anymore. And he looks like a mini Hellboy, basically, if anyone's seen that movie. So because I'm the unemployed / self-employed one around here, it was my job to take him to the doctors and see what the fuck's going on. So turns out he's had an allergic reaction to whatever the fuck bit him. The doctor didn't know what bit him. But yeah, an allergic reaction to an insect bite. So now I'm playing daddy daycare again. He's here. I'm putting him to work behind the tools over there. So like I said, however this episode comes out is entirely onto him. He's now swinging in the opposite direction to the camera, but in that direction is all the HDMI and the sound and shit, and his legs are just kicking the cord. So I'm just going to keep pushing forward. As much anxiety as this is filling me with right now, we have to do it. I've got no other time to record this today. Otherwise, it won't come out in time in YouTube. So let's do it. Let's do it. What does David Goggins say? Something about adapt and overcome, or adapt or die, I think is David Goggins. Oh, that was a big one. That was a big bang into the table. That would have shaken the camera for sure. Oh, little sip. The camera's probably not even on me anymore. You're probably looking at my lounge room right now for all I know. Oh, P's coming over here. What's going on, P? You got something to add to the podcast? You going to lounge room? All right. See you, buddy. And he's left the room. So now I'm looking for a new in-house producer. Again, send letters of interest through to cantgetanyworsepod@gmail.com. But let's move on. I just mentioned anxiety. Let's dive right into it, eh? Let's jump right in the deep end, and let's do a bit of a mental health check-in. That sounds fun for everyone. It sounds about as fun for you guys as it does for me to explain it. But as I've mentioned on this podcast at multiple times, I've been pretty honest and open with you guys, and it's almost like a little journal for me, a weekly journal this is, to come in and track my progress in comedy and podcasting and just fucking life. So let me have a little sip here. Oh, yeah. All right. Now, I think we can all admit that my mental state has not been the greatest the last couple of months. And this previous week just gone, probably it was like, let's hope it was the peak. Let's hope it doesn't peak any more than that. But a couple of things piled up on top of each other, and it just fucking, all ended up having a bit of a sit down with Nikita and going, all right, guess I better go back to the fucking doctor and sort something out. So I'm on a bit of a plan now. Won't tell you guys what it is just yet, but I'm 3 days in and feeling pretty good, to be honest. The weekend just gone. So I started it Saturday morning, and like the weekend, we didn't really do fuck all because Nikita's got like a flu and the boys half have a flu, and then Parker's shit went down. So it was a quiet weekend, but it was like, I don't know, felt like a happy, fun-loving, free weekend. Just running around in the backyard with the boys, doing whatever the fuck we wanted, really. So yeah, if I still feel like this in maybe like 2 to 3 weeks, then I'll come in and tell you what I've done and what's going on. But in case it's just like the initial high and then it just fucking plateaus, which I've had happen before, taken some tablets and shit that the doctors have given me before as much as I didn't want to, and then first few days were good. It felt like a pick-me-up, and then it was just like, oh, these don't feel like they're doing anything except making me a fucking zombie. So I guess there's a few things that all stumbled from, right? One of the big things, and this is why this morning's been a slight kick in the dick, since I've started working for myself again, my weeks have been very unstructured and loosey-goosey and just fucking go with the flow, right? And that's mainly due to me, but also like Nikita and other people are just like, oh, fuck, who can we get to do this today? Because James doesn't have work. Although I do have work, I'm just self-employed, so I have flexible hours. So yeah, just people being like, oh, can you go do this? Can you go pick this up? Can you fucking have the boys this day? And then that all just snowballing to like having 2 weeks of no income because I've missed all those hours of days of trying to fucking run a business. But and that's nothing against anyone. Like obviously if I have the time and flexibility to do it. So if I don't do it, then they would have to take days off, or Nikita would have to take days off to look after the kids, whatever. So I don't want to be a whiny little bitch about it. Jesus Christ, I think I'm getting Nikita's flu. So let's hope my voice holds out to the end of this episode. So to combat that, and that like, this is the thing I'm worried about, that what the doctors have got me on is just a bit of like a placebo, and my brain has tricked me into like, oh yeah, you're fucking all over it now. So yesterday I sat down, and to give myself structure, I've always been a super fucking scheduled person, like in my work life, to like the minute. Like my calendars are up to date. I've got lists. I'm a fiend for lists, right? I write everything I've got to get done for the day, and it's almost like a game in my head. Like it's fucking autism, 100%. But I almost see how quickly I can tick that list off, and then I've just got a cruisy rest of the day, right? So I've not had a like up-to-date schedule since I've worked for myself, and I've really slacked off on my fucking list. So I sat down yesterday, and my calendar for this week was jam tight, and it was good to look at like a week and have almost as much sort of comedy, like shows, writing, podcast, editing podcast, promoting podcasts, almost as much as like my day jobs of quoting, building, fucking drawing, blah, 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 all that shit. So it was cool to see it all on one page and be like, oh, okay, like as much as I'm working, I'm still putting in time to what I need to here. And woke up this morning, did my first 3 things, gym, sauna, ice bath. I didn't get to walk the dog yet, so I've now moved that to tonight when Nikita gets home, because that's what I want to try and do. If I don't get something done, because what I was doing, I had this list in my head and then I wouldn't get something done, and I'd just fucking end up vacuuming and mopping all day because I would be so lost with what to do. But now I've got it on my computer screen. Like it's up at all times of the day on my second screen. So I can just be like, oh, fuck, okay, that's what I'm meant to be doing now. Oh, I didn't get that done before. I can just move that to 6 o'clock tonight when Nikita gets home. But that's probably boring as fuck for you guys, but it was good for me to speak that out into existence. So, that's somewhat been thrown out the window with Parker. Like I said, it's about 12 o'clock now, and I had this scheduled for about 9 o'clock. But that's okay. We're gonna get it done. We're gonna fucking get it done. So, another big thing that made this all come to fruition is, like I teased last week, I jumped on a podcast this week just gone, the Roads We've Walked podcast with Ty Avery. We sort of crossed paths. It came up on his podcast. I randomly gave him a random sneaky creepy follow one night, and yes, I think I shot him a message saying, oh, I've seen you like some other podcasts. If you have some time, give my one a listen. If you like it, then fucking welcome to the family. And yeah, it turns out he was one of the ones that replied to me and said, yeah, I'll give it a listen. Jumped on the podcast, and yeah, he seems to be a frequent listener now. So again, the Roads We've Walked podcast, go give it a listen. I was episode number 3. Now, jumping on his podcast, it was fun as fuck. He's a really good interviewer, and I hope that his podcast fucking skyrockets. But that was the first, I think, I don't know, but from what I can remember, that was the first time I've sat down and gone through like my life events, if you want to call them that, like fucking childhood into apprenticeship, into like working, and then just capturing all the big stories that I've said on this podcast before. So rolling the truck, home invasion, miscarriages, fucking what else do we talk about? I don't know, random shit, right? But all those hectic stories being crammed into like a 2 hour, I think we went for maybe I think it might have been 2.5 hours, maybe. I don't know. Fucking go give it a listen and let me know. But even halfway through the podcast, I think we were up to like the home invasion story or something. And it was just, as I was telling these stories again, and if you're a new listener to the show, either go listen to Ty's podcast or go back to the earlier episodes of these, because that was another thing that came up on Ty's podcast. I said it was, I forget what I said on there, but it was almost like refreshing to revisit those stories, because another reason why I wanted to stop doing guests is I had all those stories that could almost, some guests we had in obviously had fucking crazier stories, and I'll never compete with those or want to even compare any of my stories to what they went through. But it almost came to a point where every fucking guest that came in, that either tell their story, and then it would almost be like, because a lot of the people, a lot of the guests that we got in, and a lot of the people I see in comedy weekly don't know the shit. And like, I don't know the shit that's going on in their lives either. It's just fucking our personal life. We just go talk about comedy and bombing and shit like that. So a lot of the people wouldn't know that sort of stuff. So every time I had a guest in and something came up, and then I'd have to recap the truck story or recap the home invasion story, I felt it'd become boring to you guys to just fucking keep hearing about these stories. But then to keep the conversation flowing with the guest, I'd almost have to quickly retell the story. And I hope that sort of made sense. Like, I didn't want this podcast to just keep being like every third episode I talked about one of those things. So it's good that, yeah, we dropped back to just Adrian and I for a bit, and like brought Nikita in, stuff like that, because they all knew about those stories. So we didn't need to talk about it. It was all fresh. It was all that. And now these solo ones, again, we don't really need to talk about it, even though we're fucking talking about it now. But yeah, there's a reason. So holy fuck, that completely missed my mouth. So I don't know how much of that went on the front of me. But I think I went on a tangent there. But halfway through the podcast, Ty sort of said, I can see you're getting like really anxious and jittery telling these stories. And I was like, oh, like, again, I forget what I said on the podcast, but it was like, yeah, it's hectic to tap back into those memories, because you're like, to tell the stories properly, you've almost got to tap back in to that time and like relive it. Well, at least that's how I do it. And I remember it would have been one of the earlier episodes, like within the first 5 to 6 episodes, maybe. I remember Adrian and Ash sort of pinned the truck. They didn't pin the truck story on me. It was like, oh, retell us the truck story on the podcast. It could have even been one of the first times I told the truck story on the podcast. And I remember I got like halfway through it, and it almost felt like I was telling, and obviously, as I say this is not what they were doing, but this is just what was going in my head, is I felt like I was telling the story, and then they were like jumping in at parts of the story and almost like questioning it and stuff like that. And the biggest question from everyone I've ever told the truck story to has been the fucking kangaroo. Everyone thinks I made the kangaroo up. And I fucking, to this day, there's a fucking kangaroo there. And I think it might have even been Ash that was like, tell us like for the last time, was there a kangaroo or something like that? And I was just like, fucking yeah, there was a kangaroo. And then I think, like, once I got that part out, like I was feeling that real anxious, just miserable feeling again, to the point where I almost felt like I was, as lame as it fucking sounds, it almost felt like I was about to cry or something. And I didn't want to cry on the podcast. So I was like, oh, I've got to go have a piss. And this was back in the days when we were doing like 2-hour podcasts, which were just dragging on way too long. So I hid my tears behind a piss. That could be either the episode title or the title to my memoir, hiding your tears. Fuck. What's a clever thing I can come up with for that? Because that would be a sick title. Hiding your tears with piss or something. Hiding your tears with piss. Hiding your tears behind piss. Maybe. I don't fucking know. Anyway, so that's that. That happened. Again, thank you to Ty for letting me jump on his podcast and tell that story, tell my life, basically. So that's available on Spotify. Again, Roads We've Walked podcast. Go give it a listen. Throw some numbers his way. I know he would love it. Another sick thing was jumping on that podcast and like seeing his setup and stuff like that. He's got like the Roadcaster Pro Generation 2, which is like the level up from mine, and just fucking, I don't know what it is about like not even technology, anything really. I can see the new something and just be like, okay, whatever I've got to do, I want that now. But until this Roadcaster dies, I'm happy with it. I'm happy with how that's working and shit like that. And I'll get there one day. Maybe I'll get the Gen 3 when it comes out. Who fucking knows? Even these things, like the mics and stuff, you can get them in white now. And I just like the look of the white. I don't know why. But even saying that, I don't want another like pod mic. I want to move up to the Shure. I forget what it's called. I think it's like a Shure MV70 or something. And that's like the bee's knees. That's like Rogan mic, Fighter and the Kid mic. Like all the pro podcasters have that one. So that's where we'll be going eventually, hopefully, if you stick with me. But another little breaking point was Westy had like a school event this week, and we'll get into the school event after I tell this because this part ties into the anxiety and fucking mental breakdown, whatever you want to call it, right? But Westy goes to a school that I used to go to back in the day now, right? So it's super weird picking him up from my old school, dropping him off, going to events and stuff there. And I think there's only like 2 teachers left there that used to teach when I went there. So yeah, a bit weird seeing them and all that sort of nonsense. But yeah, we were at his school for an event on Friday afternoon after school finished. And it was up near, and this sounds fucking, again, all this shit sounds stupid. But this is just how in my own head I am. We were up near this like basketball court, right? And every day from about grade 9 to grade 12, or even when I left school, for maybe like a year after I left school, every afternoon would go up to this basketball in the school, like me and one of my mates, and then like 2 of our other mates would come on the weekends, and we'd just spend hours at this basketball court or up in the school running a fucking muck. And it was just like to get to Westy's event, we had to go onto the basketball court. And as weird and lame as it sounds, it was like when I stood on that basketball court, I was like, oh shit, like I'm the only one out of the 4 of us that used to play on this basketball court that still fucking living in this area. Like they're all in big fancy houses, either in Brisbane or Gold Coast. Some that I've done like cabinetry work in. So, and then the other thing, like they're all on jobs that fucking pay in excess of 100 to 150K a year. And it's just like, oh, I'm still the only one like standing on this basketball court, as lame as that fucking sounds. But yeah, I don't know why I thought that or anything, because obviously I've got my own shit. Like fucking, I've got a house like better than what because sometimes like I was driving through, where was I driving through? Like Logan Lee yesterday was it yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday on my way to a gig. I was driving through Logan Lee and I saw a house on the side of the road, and I remembered like every time I'd be driving with my mum or dad or something, I'd like look at that house and be like, oh fuck, I hope I can afford that house one day. And then I drove past yesterday and I was like, that house is like literally what some people would refer to as like a crack den. Like it wasn't anything fancy. And now I live in a house that's like a fucking good house for the suburb, like a good 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom, good size yard. So I was like, oh shit, I've already exceeded what I thought I was going to exceed when I was younger. Like got fucking a wife, got kids, got 2 cars, got what a lot of people would see as like, that's the dream. So in a way I've already got the dream, but because my stupid brain was like, oh, you need to be a fucking stand-up comedian and podcaster now. And still that's where I'm heading. But I'm hoping that like this new look at everything and this like tighter schedule shit like that is going to get me there quicker than it would have just wandering around the house going, oh, fuck, like I'm so stressed. I've got to get this done. I've got to get that done. Just jumping around, not actually getting anything done. So, yeah, I think that was, there was one more tipping point. This might have been the tipping point of all tipping points, to be honest. Last week, I've been going back and forth, getting this huge job over the line, right, for my day business, building kitchens and shit. And to date, it's the biggest job I've signed, right? Stupid money. And because of this, let's face it, I don't really enjoy my day job. So the burden of signing that job and now knowing that as good as the money looks, I've now got to fucking do that job, which I get, cry me a river. You got to do a bit of work. And I've never been scared of a bit of work, but it's a lot of pressure to take on your shoulder, this particular job, but we're doing it. Because of that, I've now had to go on to like the next business license. So I've got to jump up. I've got to show the government and shit all these extra numbers and stuff of like my assets and my earnings and all that sort of stuff to qualify for this license, and just a whole heap of other fees and stuff that I now have to pay them just to get this license. Fucking stupid. That's the most annoying thing as well about running a business that you absolutely hate is every time you try and make a decent bit of money, it's like either the tax agency, is that the tax agency? I don't fucking remember. Tax or government or fucking insurance. Somebody wants more money from you because now you're like succeeding that next level. So it's almost worth just making like 50K a year and just being like, okay, I know I'm making that 50K, that's it. Because as soon as you like start going 80, 100, 150, blah, 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 it's just like, all right, now you have to pay all this money for trying to improve your life and get further in life. But anyway, so that was just a whole heap of other pressure that I didn't need on top of everything else. I get that was probably a boring fucking like 20 to 25 minutes of a mental health recap from the big dog here, but hey, you guys keep coming back. You must be liking something that I'm saying every week and keeping you guys in the loop. Now, let's get on to some funner shit, right? So like I said, Westy had a bit of a school event. So it was like an inflatable world sort of thing at their school. And we were allowed to bring Parker and we took my niece as well. So they were just running amok in these things. And we'll go with the cool thing and then we'll go with the shitty thing, right? Cool thing was my youngest son Parker struggles to fucking make friends, things like that. He comes home from daycare every day, miserable as fuck. And it breaks Nikita and my heart to like see him like that, to the point of I was like, oh, I'll just fucking homeschool him. Because he just comes home, he's like, oh, this person pushed me or this person kicked me or something. And I'm like, fucking hit them back. Like, I don't care what the teacher says, I'll cop the blame. But fucking, and he's like, oh, this person like took my pen or something like that. And I'm like, dude, you need to throw the fuck down. Because at home, he runs the roost. He's the strongest one. He beats up Westy all day. Sometimes he even like gets me in a headlock and I have to legit tap out. But I don't know what it is about daycare, whether he just gets anxious and shit. But yeah, he just shells up. He doesn't have many friends or anything like that. He doesn't get invited to many parties. So it's like, it's almost like heartbreaking to an extent. Anyway, we're at this school event at Westy's school, right? And Parker's playing with his cousin, my niece, and they're having an okay time, but Parker's 3 and she's like just over 1, I think. Actually, she might be older than that. Anyway, she's a lot younger than him. So they're not really on the same play level, but Parker's like, okay, I've got no one else to play with. And then out of nowhere, this kid flies over and just starts like wrestling Parker. And Parker looks up with the happiest fucking smile on his face I've ever seen, right? And I'm like, what the fuck's going on here? I'm like, is this a kid that's picked on him or something like that? And Nikita goes, oh, no, that's his old friend from daycare who left last year. And this was like the one friend that Parker liked to play with and shit like that. And these two had the most fun that afternoon that I've ever seen Parker have with another kid, right? They loved it. They were jumping all over each other, wrestling, sprinting around the entire school. And one thing, Parker was like, I'm not going on anything. I'm not going on the inflatables. I'm scared, blah, blah, blah. And maybe half an hour after these two were playing with each other, I was like, oh, let's get, blank that name. He's like, oh, let's go jump on the inflatable thing. And P's like, oh, okay. And I'm like, oh, is he going to go do it? And they got all the way to the front of the line. And luckily, like I could see P was shitting his pants, right? He did not want to go on this thing. Luckily, his little friend was like, I'm too scared. Let's not do it. And they both ran off together. And I was like, oh, fuck, that's kind of cool. But onto the bad thing, right? And this, again, Westy pushing boundaries. We spoke about it the other week with him going on the road. It was frustrating as fuck because I did all this shit when I was a kid and all I could see while I was looking at him was just little shithead James doing the exact same thing. And I'm like, well, how can I get angry at him when I did the same thing, right? Him and a couple of his mates, obviously there's the school, right? Backs onto a heap of houses. And there was this one house with like a Colorbond tin fence, if that makes sense. Him and a couple of his mates have decided it's a good idea to pick up some rocks and sticks and shit and just start pegging it at this fence and sprinting off. And they'd go back, they'd do it again. And obviously I didn't see this to start with. Otherwise I would have been right over there. I don't know how fucking long they were doing this. So I've noticed it. I've seen him and his mate's thrown a stick. And I'm like, and I've seen Westy pick up a stick and he's going to throw it. But as he's going to throw it, he's looked over and seen me looking at him. And he's not thrown it then. And I'm like, fucking good job. Good thinking. Good fucking, what's the word I'm looking for? Like just assessing your actions, I guess. There's a word that encapsulates those words together, but I can't think of it right now. So I was like, oh, fuck yeah, thank you. Thank you for not throwing that. I appreciate that. Now I don't have to come yell at you in front of all these parents. Then that other switch in his head, the switch that James used to have when he was a little kid was like, if I throw this stick, my friends are going to think I'm cool. It could get a giant laugh and I could be the king of the school, like when I kicked the fucking skin off the soccer ball. Hey, P, I was just talking about you. What are you doing? You want to be on the podcast? You want to wave to everyone? Okay. I'll keep telling the story while P awkwardly stands there. So hopefully you guys can see me over the top of him. P, you're in the camera. P. Okay. P's now the podcast host. But anyway, back to Westy. He turns back and he throws this fucking stick at the fence. And I've gone, all right, it's fucking on. So I've started power walking over and I've gone, Westy, you can come stand with me and mum now because fucking... I said other shit, but I'm not going to bore you guys with how I disciplined my son. And he just hit that like attitude switch of trying to be cool in front of his mates. And I was like, dude, you do not want to fucking embarrass yourself right now. You do not want to lose your iPad, your PlayStation, blah, blah, blah. And he seemed to have the right idea and he settled down. And then about 10 minutes later, Nikita and I looked back over. Who's over at the fence again with a stick in his hand? P is breathing into the microphone. That is not me. P, get back from the mic. Young Weston is at the fence again with the stick, sizing up the fence, and he lets it rip again. So I've had to run over there and go, it's home time, buddy. Unfortunately, you've ruined this time for everyone. So if anyone knows how to discipline some 7-year-olds, I've tried everything. Everything. Some things we can't say on podcasts, but P's back again with a big grin. What did you just do? You running amok out there? Yeah, good chat. Glad to have you on board. But yeah, that was the school event in a wrap. This is what couple of, let's call these our can't get any worse stories for the week. Don't touch the laptop, dude. This is what I thought I was going to be kicking off the podcast with this morning, right? Do you want to sit on my lap or what are you doing? Quick. Do you want to say hello to everyone? Say hello. Okay. He's gone camera shy. What are you doing, dude? Sorry for the podcast listeners. This is what I thought I was kicking the podcast off with this morning, right? So I take my dog for a daily walk now, which is quite nice. We didn't get to walk our last dog because she was a bit of a nutcase. So it's nice to get out into the fresh air, walk this dog. I take her for about, it depends what track we take, but between 3 to 4 kilometres, right? Every day, which she loves. And P, you've got to hop down, dude. P, what are you doing? Did you just scratch your butt in the camera? Oh my God. Come on, dude. Quick. So yeah, I take the dog for a walk where's your iPad? Go get your iPad. All right. Yeah, we take this dog for a walk every day. And on this particular day, so it must have been Sunday, I've put the little poo bag that you do in my pocket. She hasn't done one on a walk yet. So fingers crossed she's just one of those dogs that doesn't shit on walks. And again, we didn't need it yesterday. And I wear these like your usual gym shorts, right? Like Under Armour gym shorts. And I've actually worn them on the podcast before, my short shorts where my dick was hanging out the whole episode. And I've got home, I've slipped these off, put them in the wash, and I've woke up this morning and I didn't have any clean gym shorts to go to the gym. So I'm like, fuck, what am I going to do? And I'm like, oh, well, I just wore those for a little bit yesterday to take Bailey for a walk. So they're relatively clean, right? So I'm like, I'll just throw them back on and wear them to gym. So I've put them on, put my wallet in my pockets, put my phone in my pockets, and I've gone to gym, right? And as I've got to the front door to scan in 24 hours, I went at like 4 a.m. or whatever it was. And normally I sign in by myself. There's no one following me or anything, right? And Pig's in the camera again. And this particular morning, there were 3 people behind me for whatever reason. And as I've pulled my wallet out of my pocket to get my scanner card out, the shit bag has like come out of my pocket and fallen on the ground in front of these people. I'm like, yes, P. Yeah, no, it's still on. It just goes like that when it's gone to sleep. Oh boy. I don't think I'm going to get any social media clips out of this week because, I mean, can you see in front of the camera right now? We have a rogue 3-year-old just overtaking the podcast. Say hi, everyone. Nah, he's a mute. He's done. So yeah, that was a bit awkward. I had to scoop up this shit bag just in front of all these people. Again, they probably wouldn't have thought anything about it, but I was like, oh my God, this is the most awkward gym experience of my life. How am I ever going to come back from this? So I'm on the lookout for a new gym as of tomorrow. I can never show my face there again because they probably look at me as old shitbag Jimmy every time I check in. What are you doing, dude? He has taken over this podcast more than ever. No, don't go under that because you'll disconnect everything. All right. He's going to go under it and he's going to disconnect everything. See, this is the discipline that we need to correct in this household. P, you're actually going to break it. Hopefully this audio is still coming through. This one, I'm borrowing This Can't Get Any Worse from Nikita. This is a Nikita story. And we went to Kmart yesterday on the weekend. And I ducked off to the toilet, right? And as I got back, Nikita's like, you just missed the most awkward fucking thing I've ever seen because this mum just looked at me and like begged for my forgiveness after what I'd just heard. Yes, P. Yes, P. Okay. He said my name and then he continued with no question. So, yes, P. Yeah, mummy's at work. She'll be home soon. Anyway, apparently there was this lady shopping with her daughter, and then a person in a wheelchair came beside him, and this young girl in front of the person in the wheelchair and to her mum said, "Oh God, people in wheelchairs have it so easy." And her mum, obviously embarrassed as shit, was like, "Oh no, like people are in wheelchairs for a reason, like they've got a disability," and she's trying to explain it to her. Yes, P. Where's the grapes? They're in the fridge. Would you like to go get them? They're on the bottom shelf, so you'll be able to reach them. Go see if you can get them and let me know if you can't. Anyway, this mum started to explain this to her daughter as best she can. And the daughter's obviously still just fucking pushing the button. And the mum goes, well, why do you think they've got it so easy? Again, don't fucking ask a kid why they've said that in front of this person. And the kid goes, oh, because they don't have to walk anywhere. They've just got it so easy. Like, I wish I didn't have to walk anywhere. And this mum just didn't know what the fuck to do. And she just apparently looked over at Nikita and was like, please forgive me for everything that has just fucking gone down. So I wish I was there to see the awkwardness. Unfortunately, I wasn't. Had to go and drain the main vein. Oh, one sec. P's coming back. What'd you say, P? You can't get them. They're on the bottom shelf. I'll be right back, everyone. Holy shit, he's back. So I've got Parker's grapes. We can all settle. Hopefully that buys us to the end of the episode, but we'll see how we go. We'll just get straight into this before something goes down again and he comes back in. We'll touch on my weekend comedy for the week, and you're probably sitting there going, but James, you didn't plug any shows last week. You said you had a week off to write. That's exactly what I thought. But for whatever reason, I got the call up. I got the call up to go and do the casino in the Avenue on Wednesday night. And I also got the call up to fill in at Big Fork Theatre on Sunday, so last night. So first two gigs, again, I was in the middle of everything we spoke about at the start of this episode. So I was not in the best fucking headspace, right? But don't want to turn down gigs while they're getting offered to you, right? And I've got to the casino feeling pretty shitty and obviously eat a bag of dicks there. And one thing I didn't want to do on this night was bomb. I wanted to at least have like cruisy fucking sets where there was a steady amount of laughter in the room, right? I knew I wasn't going to crush just because of the headspace I was in. But a lot of the people on the lineup either like I super like respect, or they're just like big names in the scene that you don't want to bomb in front of, right? And get up at the casino, eat a fucking bag of dicks. So that didn't feel great. I've sort of left there with my head down, said goodbye to the guy running sound and stuff. It was awkward. Like, did the polite, it is what it is, man. Like, you did what you could up there. And like, that's the other thing. Like, no one crushed there that night. It was let's blame that one on the crowd. And then I get down to the Avenue, again, having a chat to the guys before the show starts. It's a pretty cool hang. So my mood is picking back up. I'm like, okay, could be on. Let's rub that dirt off that I just got down at the casino. And then I think I was first up there. First up there. Jump up and just could not win the crowd over. I don't know if I just wasn't in it. Like, they could tell I wasn't into it or something, but bombed heavy again and just it fucking sucked. Because if you bomb once, you're like, oh, the next time, like hopefully tomorrow or whenever I've got the next gig, I'll be in a better headspace. I'll recoup. I'll feel better about myself. But then just to have two, possibly some of the biggest bombs I've had in a little while, to be honest. It was a shit drive home, and just it was one of those nights where it was like, comedy isn't for me. I'm quitting. I'm coming in here. I'm burning all the podcast equipment. I'm never doing comedy again. So obviously had from Wednesday to Sunday last night where I was like trying to build myself back up. Like I said, had a pretty good weekend. And then with the whole Parker thing going down and all that, I was starting to creep back into a shitty mood. And then I don't know why, but an hour before this gig start, like before I had to leave, I was like, you're shit at comedy. Remember Wednesday? That's how fucking shit you're going to be every time you get on stage. You useless piece of shit. You've never written a good joke in your life. I don't know how you made it through to this competition that you're wearing the shirt of like a year and a half ago. I don't know how you've made it to the Raw semi-finals twice because you've never written anything good in your life. You useless piece of shit. That's what my brain said to me. And I had to adapt and overcome again and trick my brain and go, no, fucking these jokes have worked before for a reason. And let's be honest, I played a relatively safe set last night because I didn't want to bomb again. And I got up, I think I was second, and they just fucking gobbled it up. They loved it. It was one of those sets where it was like, thank you, comedy gods. Thank you for blessing me with this world of comedy. So start and middle were high, and then I lost them towards the end like a little bit. It was still fucking sick. They laughed heaps, but it was like the jokes haven't hit as hard as they have in other rooms. And they're the two newest jokes in that safe set that I've got. So a little bit of tweaking, a little bit of playing and tweaking on those ones. And once I've got them where I want them, they'll be fucking killers as well. So 6 set last night at Big Fork. I'm on there again in about another month or so, I think, but we'll plug that when we get to it. What else has happened this week? I had a bit of a recap this week. TikTok popped up, and it was of like Mac Miller, the rapper. Everyone's somewhat familiar with him. I remember when he died, though. It was a Saturday for us, and I was at work, and I was on Instagram or whatever, and I was with The Apprentice, and I'm like, oh, fuck, Mac Miller just died. And the blank look that he gave me, I was like, oh, shit, I'm an old man. Like, this is my old man rapper. But, yeah, it hurt a little bit. Like, I'm not going to say fucking it affected my life or like other people do when people, like, celebrities die, but it sucked to know that, like, we'll never get another original Mac Miller song. So I saw this TikTok pop up, and it was basically saying that one of his biggest songs, 2009, that's the name of the song. I'm not just saying the year or whatever. Like, it's a fucking sick song. Go listen to it if you haven't heard it. And hearing that almost didn't exist. He started that off as just he was walking around his apartment, his producer was there, and he just started freestyling this song. And his producer's like, you need to fucking put that on a song. So they went to the studio, recorded it, blah, blah, blah. Whether or not this is a true story or not, like, Mac Miller's obviously died now, so we can't get whether it is the truth or not. But pretty insane if that is the case too. And like, you hear so many musicians and shit say that. And I think Zach Bryan, the country music artist, came out this week. His 3 biggest songs, he said he wrote after an all-night bender. He came back to his like apartment or something, pulled out his pen and guitar at 5 a.m. in the morning, still drunk / hungover, and just wrote his 3 biggest songs randomly. So it's crazy when the muse comes and hits you. I'm still waiting for it to come and give me some sort of genius comedy fucking joke, but it'll come. I just got to keep putting in the hours. But yeah, it was good to take another little, like, Saturday night, I think it was. I just put Fortnite on and just sat there for like 2 hours just listening to This Is Mac Miller on Spotify. And just every song was just like hit after hit after hit. Not mainstream hits, but if you're into that stuff, you're like, oh, fuck, this was a sick song when it came out, or fucking, yeah, I don't know. It was just sick to go back and reminisce, if that makes sense. Other shit in music news. I know I came on here last week and I was like, oh, Post Malone and Morgan Wallen, they've cracked the country music code. They've come out with the song of the summer. They're fucking the banger. And then the other big country music artist of our time, Luke Combs, has just gone, oh, boys, that's cute. That's cute what you guys have just done. While you guys have been promoting this for the last few months and running it into the ground, I've been back here creating new music, and I've actually just come up with the theme song to the new Twister movie coming out. I'm not sure how that's going to go. I don't know why they just keep remaking old movies. But anyway, Luke Combs just drops this banger on Friday called Ain't No Love Like Oklahoma, I think it's called. Jesus. If there's something about a fat ranger in a snapback with a fucking beard down to his chest, belting out country music, that's just like, how can you beat that? And the amount of good songs that Luke Combs has like written and sang, it's insane. But yeah, go check that one out. And I don't fucking know. Based on my recommendation of the song last week, I think this one tops it. And I don't know if it's just because last week's song has been run into the ground and this is so fresh and new. Most of us didn't know it was coming. So it was a big surprise. And now it's at the top of the country music charts. So go give it a listen. Let me know what you think. couple of on top of music, I've watched some movies this week. Nothing brand new, so don't expect any groundbreaking reviews or anything like that. So while I was in my lull, I needed a bit of a comfort movie, you know what I mean? A movie that I always go back to and watch. I've got a few of them. Freddy Got Fingered, Superbad. What else is there? The Hangover. All those sort of shit. That's my comfort movies. And for whatever reason, like 2 weeks ago, Nikita and I were talking about This Is 40. And I think this could be one of the biggest sleeper comedy movies ever. Because every time I watch this, I piss my fucking pants laughing. And watching it this week, it was literally watching Nikita and I on a fucking TV. Like every argument they were having, every like issue they were having with their kids and shit. And it was just so funny and good to see somebody encapsulate that in a movie and just be able to laugh at like, because obviously everyone around our age group, like between 30 to 40, maybe even a little bit more, is going through these issues. Like when you start to have kids, when you start to grow up, I guess, all these issues start to like break their way into your life. And it's just, yeah, I think it's probably, and like, I don't remember it going for like just over 2 hours, because when I went to watch it, I'm like, fuck, do I really have 2 hours to sit down and watch this? But I needed a laugh. And I'm glad I sat down and watched it. Hilarious as fuck. If you haven't seen This Is 40 or you haven't seen it for a few years, go back and watch it. Funny as shit. The other thing, I tried to sit down and write the other night and I was getting no clear thoughts, nothing like that. I was just getting like angry that I couldn't write anything funny. So I was like, I'm going to go out to the lounge room and I'm going to put a comedy special on and just watch a full hour of work, and just hopefully it shows me something. Like it, I don't know, like it's weird. Like, you know how sports people watch tape on their opponents and shit like that? It's like, okay, I'll watch comedy to like learn, I guess. It's almost, yeah, it's like a learning exercise to watch someone perform comedy and then go and try and write something. I didn't go back and try and write something, but I went back and watched a comedy special that I watched years ago again, but it was on the back burner. Jim Jeffries' Bear. So it's the special that blew Jim Jeffries up to that next level. And the main reason being is the gun control bit. And the only, like, I was scrolling through all the specials and like nothing really jumped out at me. And I remember a podcast this week talking about the gun control bit that Jim Jeffries did and how it was like one of the best bits they've ever seen, like formulated, if that makes sense. So I was like, oh, it popped up and I'm like, fuck it, I'll just watch it. I haven't seen it for a while. I didn't really remember the gun bit too much. And I went back and watched it, and the start of the special irritated me a little bit because Jim Jeffries is obviously blown up as like the stereotypical Australian that's he went to England and then he's like made his way over to the States, set up base there. So you always hear Americans, they like get the Australians to say like the phrases like, oh, throw another shrimp on the barbie, or fucking Steve Irwin quotes, whatever Americans make us say. So I was always somewhat like, oh, Jim Jeffries is just like built a career over there of being the Australian, things like that. And the start of the special started off a lot like that. And I'm just like, everything he's saying is just funny because he's putting that Australian twang on it. And he's like, he's overplaying the Australian character. And a little bit of it was like he was stealing a little bit of like Rodney Rude's shtick or things like that and just being like the cunty Australian. And then I was like, I kept watching it and I was like, oh, like he is being his own self up there. I don't know if I was like being too judgmental just because I like, yeah, obviously I've said it before. I'm not exactly the biggest Australian music, movie, comedy fan there is out there, right? Like all the American shit is what I listen to and thrive to be. And then he got to the gun control bit, and 100%, it's one of the best bits I've seen. Just the way he handles that whole situation. He spins it. He tricks the audience. He he does all the comedy tricks in that one bit. So it was cool to see a bit like that structured and presented to the crowd. So again, if you haven't seen that special for a while, go back and see that. Or if you just want to watch that bit, like YouTube, I'm sure it's on YouTube, Jim Jeffries gun control bit, I guess you'd search. But what else are we? Hang on, just got to scroll down here because that was all basically the talking points I had. We're onto it. My premature premise for the week. Now, this is one I thought of yesterday, and I can only put this down to like the comedy gods going, good job, James, for going out there, working on yourself, and we're going to bless you with this little bit. And I don't know why, but this is the first time in a long time when I've thought about a joke and gone and like laughed myself. Normally I just write and then I'm like, oh, that'll be pretty funny. Take it to stage. If it doesn't get a laugh, tweak it a little bit, things like that. And this, I don't know why, I just thought about it in my car. I laughed out loud and I'm like, quickly write that the fuck down. So I'll present it this week. This will be the next new bit that I try on stage. So I've had to write it down a little bit just so I remembered the direction I wanted to go with it. But basically the premise is, and again, I don't know if everyone does this. So this is going to be the tricky part to see if people in the crowd can relate to this or whether it's just like my fucking autism kicking in again. But do you guys have those sounds in your lives that like you subconsciously remember? And for me, this was the weird thing. I got into my car at the shops. I just went to the shops and bought some shit. And I don't know if I always do this or if I just noticed this one time. But when I started my car, like every car has its own ignition start, like the wind of your engine kicking over. And every car I get into that I know, I do that little wind in my head. And I'm like, and then if anything out of that norm ever happens, I'm like, oh, fuck, something must be wrong with my car. So I was in Nikita's car, it did like the three fucking like the sounds an engine makes, if that makes sense. Anyway, so my joke for that was it's crazy the sounds we remember. Like, I don't know if it's just my autism or whatever, but when I turn the ignition of my car, I know the exact sound that's going to come out of it. Like I'll learn a cool fucking car starting bit, so don't worry about that. And then I'm like, you guys know it as, what have I got up there? Basically, I'm like, you guys know what the fuck I'm talking about. Like, take a moment and now close your eyes and pretend you're like turning your key and you'll be able to hear your car start in your own head. And I'm hoping the audience buys into it. They like somewhat do it in their head. And then I want to go like, okay, now close your eyes and imagine the sound your dad would have made when he like blew the load that made you inside your mum, and then make a weird old man grunt into the microphone and hopefully just make the crowd uncomfortable, like so uncomfortable that they laugh, if that makes sense. So I don't know why the fuck I thought of that. I guess I'm just trying to trick the audience into buying into something innocent like that and then just throw my dirty punchline like I always do into the end and them going, he fucking got us. He got us with the old bait and switch. The old bait and switch. It's part of comedy, I guess. But onto our motivational clip for the week. This will wrap us up. So this was a clip from this, I think it was like a week or two ago. Derek Poston, who's a young up-and-coming comedian. I found out about him for the first time. Would have been about 2020 or so. He jumped on Fighter and the Kid as like a guest host while Brian Callen had his cancellation happening. And since then, he's just thrived. He's now touring with Andrew Schultz as his opener. He's a regular at the Comedy Mothership with Joe Rogan. And yeah, Rogan got him on the podcast to have a bit of a chat. And it was cool to hear someone somewhat fresh to the comedy scene jump on Rogan and tap Rogan back into those early days and things like that. So this is a little clip that came from that, which I thought was cool. So here we go.
If someone does fail that you wanted to fail and you feel good, you should be embarrassed. You should be embarrassed by that feeling. People need to learn this. You need to learn this and learn it in a way where it doesn't feel bad if you take it on. You don't feel like a fool. Because we've all been fools. I've been a fool. everyone's in this room, everyone listening has been a fool. We've all been a fucking moron. That's how you learn and grow in life. But if you stick to the old ways, you'll just be unhappy and mentally ill. And it's almost like you have to go through. I had those feelings. I remember being at an open mic night and I wasn't on the list. I couldn't get on the list. I was angry. Like, why can't I go up? This is bullshit. It's just like, you just have to deal with the grind. It's like it's part of the thing. It's like what makes you better. It's like those uncomfortable things, they build inside of you. Those uncomfortable moments and feelings, they add inspiration. They add determination. They add discipline. They make you focus more.
So that rung true for me this week. Because the amount of times I'll be backstage at a show and they're just like, all the other comedians backstage will be shitting at whoever's on stage because maybe they're trying a new bit and it's not going well or something. But it's just everyone being negative on each other. But those moments help you go to the next level. So, and that was a sick thing again about the casino. Like Chris Martin, who's a funny comedian in the scene, and he runs Big Fork Theatre. He was the MC at the casino. Obviously saw me eat a bag of dicks. Still fucking shook my hand and shit at the end and said, "Oh, like, good job. You did what you could do, blah, blah, blah." And then just knowing that he saw me fail miserably. And then I got to his gig at Big Fork. And again, he never would have fucking thought this for a second. But part of me was like, oh, I bet he's embarrassed now that he's booked me for this gig. Like, now I'm going to bomb on his gig. I got up there, had the sneaky little crush that I did, and he fucking came up after and gave me my props, and he's like, fucking, that was an amazing set. Like, good job, blah, blah, blah. And it was good. Again, he wouldn't have even remembered my set on Wednesday, but in my head, it was like, thank fuck. His last memory of me now is going to be crushing on his stage. But anyway, that'll do us for the week. Gigs coming up this week. What do we got? Wednesday the 22nd, I'm at The Cellar at West End. One of my favourite gigs to do. So, yeah, come check that one out. Fun little comedy room there. Friday the 24th, first time here at Door 84 in Brisbane CBD. Haven't done that one before. We'll see how it goes. A couple of people in the scene have told me it's good. So, we'll go with that. Sunday the 26th. This is my first lunchtime gig, so I'm looking forward to that. Mr. PP's down at Southport. Again, first time jumping on there, but all reports, it's sold out the last time or two they've done it. Should be fun. Head down. If you're in the Gold Coast, come check me out. My show that I'm putting on, plugged it last week, and I'll be plugging it every week up until the date. But Sunday, June 2nd, Distillery Road Market at Eagleby or / Beanley, whatever you want to say. Huge number of tickets already booked, which is sick to see. And I haven't really pushed it to the extent that I've pushed my other gigs. But again, if you're around this Logan area, come check it out. It's going to be a sick gig, sick lineup. I'm fucking proud of everyone I've put on that lineup. It's going to be a sick gig. So if you can't make it to any of those gigs, but you want to get in touch with the podcast, send me an email at cantgetanyworsepod@gmail.com. What just happened to my brain just then? Or send me a DM on Instagram or Facebook, wherever you can get me. And yeah, we'll have a chat. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Share the podcast with anyone. Let's help grow these numbers so I can get a Rodecaster Gen 3 or the Shaw mic. And I will see you later.
Can't get any worse, we'll make you see. It's all